Hi guys, my name is Becky and welcome back. If you're new here, I make videos mainly about manga and occasionally books, and today I'm bringing you my May and June wrap up. So let's go ahead. So in May I actually read a total of 8 books, which is normally my standard for the month. The first few books that I read I'm just going to group together because they are actually part of the Jaya and the Skypiea arc in One Piece, and there are 2 videos where I give my entire thoughts. So I read One Piece Volume 27, Volume 28, Volume 29, Volume 30 and Volume 31. And obviously I read a tiny bit of Volume 32, but I didn't finish that because that is half of another arc that I'm currently working on that video. So the Skypiea and Jaya arcs weren't exactly my favourite arcs. I did go a lot into this in these videos if you want to go and watch them, where I just mentioned that I feel like I'm going through the motions with this arc. Apparently it's a lot of people's favourite arc and other ones. I was a bit like, when is this going to get good? And then it eventually did. It took a while to get there, but it's not as good as the other arcs in the series. It's like the current arc that I'm reading at the moment. I'm a bit like, just gotta keep going, because obviously I'm not going to enjoy everything part of it. But yeah, I think I gave most of these books like around 3 and 4 stars. Apart from volume 30 and 31, which I gave 4 stars, which where the art got better, I got the others 3 stars because I was enjoying it. It's just not my favourite thing in the world. Then read Sunrise on the Reaping, which I gave 3 stars. Again, there is a reading vlog where I try and read this before my podcast episode, but I will go into a little bit of detail here. But if you want to click just to see what my thoughts. I think there was a lot of I think the first chapter was shocking, but I think there was a lot of things that could have been done better in the book itself. I wasn't amazed at it. I just couldn't get my thoughts in order really about it. I still have really conflicted feelings. I think some things were done really well, other things weren't. There was a lot of rehashing of plots and things that I was like, why, like a bit of fan service as well, so it was all a bit iffy, but I did enjoy the story. And first chapter, but I think I recently saw someone said it felt like a movie, it had been wrote for the film, and I'm like, I agree with that. I really agree with that. But although the ending, I could see that coming a mile away. Like, Suzanne Collins' books are not happy. I could see that coming a mile away. I didn't cry or anything. I haven't read a book where I've cried for a long time, so yeah. It was an alright read. I know a lot of people's has been 5 stars, but there were just some things, like certain plots that I felt like, yeah, there's just a lot of rehashing a little bit, I think. And I thought maybe she could have gone down a different route. But some of it was like, oh my god, what am I supposed to do here? But yeah, if you want to see more of my thoughts, there's also my podcast. There'll be a link to my podcast down below if you want to see more on that. I actually read We Are Not the Same by Sabrina Grimaldi, which I gave 4 stars. My friend Holly, we interviewed an author on our podcast called Sabrina Grimaldi. She's from my writers group. And this story follows Maddie and Aspen, 2 girls who go on the same trip on a July 4th weekend, and it's I don't want to spoil it, but it's a lot about girlhood and how girls see each other as rivals, so that it explores a lot of that, and I really enjoyed it. It's an indie author as well, and I think I need to read more indie authors, but because I'm going to be an indie author myself, so I've got to show my support. So yeah, we did interview on a podcast about a lot about her book and her processing, so if you want to go there, again, link will be down below. Yeah, it's a really good book and I enjoyed reading it. It was different. I haven't read a lot of books that deal with this sort of subject. And then I read Dragonfall by Lamley R. Now this book was this fantasy book that this character and this dragon become bonded by this ceremony, and I think it's a romantasy technically, because some of the world building in the book was a little bit lacking. I just keep picking up romantasy books and I don't want to. I'm not a massive fan of romantasy because I like my fantasy books with world building. So there was some world building, but then other things weren't explained. I couldn't really grasp how the magic system worked. It was like they harnessed this power. I just couldn't grasp the magic system at all. It wasn't, I don't think the magic system was explained well, but I did like how the book ended. Could have gone a different way, but it decided to go the other way. I'm trying not to say too much without spoiling it, but the main issue for me was the magic system wasn't explored as much as it should. And although, because one of the main characters is a dragon, and it did feel like he was a dragon at times, and then he was being more humanized, I'd wish we'd explored more about his humanization as a dragon, but we didn't get that, so that's why I gave 3 stars. I read The Theatre of Glass and Shadows by Anne Collette, which I gave 2 stars. This was such a big disappointment. Like, I thought I was gonna get this weird mystery about like this theatre district in the UK, like it's because it's set in this alternative reality, and that there's the fact that this girl was born in the theatre district. But again, the world building felt very lacking, and things didn't really go explained. I felt like one thing was happening, then another thing was happening, and it kind of, to be honest, I thought it was a bit boring. Not much of anything happens in the book until the climax, and even then the climax I felt was a bit rushed. I didn't know anything about the main character, I just knew she liked dancing. And I think I put in my review, it felt like I was reading a play. It felt like a play. I didn't know anything about the characters. The characters were just acting out, like they were set mouthpieces and just acting out dialogue that didn't feel natural to them at all. So it's a real shame because I had really high hopes for this book. And so yeah, that was my 2-star. So that is my May wrap up. So let's move into the books I read in June. So June, I only managed to read 3 books because it's been a busy month of assignments. I have my dissertation for my master's degree that I'm doing. So I decided to read 2 books because my dissertation I'm writing is, because I'm studying creative writing, is a Gothic psychological horror set in Sheffield in the UK. And I needed a bit of inspiration, so the first book I read was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which I gave 3 stars. This book is very unique, I will give it that. I've never read anything like this, ever. And I don't read a lot of horror books, really. I don't read a lot of horror books that are like this. I mean, it's not, I suppose, it's described as a H.P. Lovecraft, we don't need to mention him, meets the Bronte sisters, and I think that is the greatest description that the book could have. But because of those 2 different blending genres, it feels like you're reading 2 different books. You have the main story with the main character, Noemi, going to this house because her cousin has sent a letter and she's going to investigate. So you've got this mystery with this weird house and there's mold on the walls. And then you've got this second story going on with, spoilers for this, I'm going to give spoilers because I can't really talk about it without it, sentient mold that is controlling this English family. And social commentary in it that I can see. But it felt like 2 different books, and because the genres are so, they don't blend well together, I just feel like they just don't blend. And the fact that the setting is in the 50s, there's a few mentions to like the Mexican Revolution. I don't know that much about Mexican history in the 50s, and obviously there's a bit of racism involved in it. They are very racist towards Noemi, but apart from those little elements, it could have been set in America for all I knew. I feel like there could have been more elements put in Mexico. I wanted more about the social criticism in Mexico, but again, I don't think that's what the point of the book is, but that's what I wanted. And I believe Holly and I did talk about this on the podcast, where there are other books that do explore this more, so I will check her out because I'm very interested in this author now I've read her book, because the writing style was really easy to get to, but because the genres are so conflicting, it can feel like the story wants to go off in one direction and then the story wants to go off in another direction, so they can feel a bit like a whiplash at times. But I definitely will check more out by this author. Then I also read Case Closed, volume 94, and this is one of my favourite arcs in the entire series. The English releases are like 7 years behind, and this is like one of the arcs where Shinichi turns up when he goes on a school trip, and there's like the Tengu arc and they've got to investigate, but he's at risk of turning back into code, and so it's just fun for me. I love it. It's 4 stars. I'm along for the ride, and it's just nice to see something a bit different and having Shinichi back. And then the last book I read was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I gave this book 3 stars. 3 star, like again, I just need to, 3 stars is nothing bad by any means. That's where it goes to 2 stars. Like, I enjoyed Rebecca, but it was so slow at the beginning. It took me 100 pages to get into the book because the main character doesn't have a name. We just know her as her surname. She just was so annoying. Yeah, I can kind of get the gist of this character, but I just couldn't. The book itself was pretty entertaining. Once we got into the mystery of the book, I think after the first 100 pages, then there's like this mystery of who is Rebecca actually, and as the kids say, she's haunting the narrative. Like, it definitely had those vibes that I wanted for my dissertation. I just have to really fault the opening, which is probably what dragged the star down for me. There's like, she just talks and talks and talks about stuff that I don't care. I'm just like, yes, but like, I won't get into it, but like my book that's coming out in September, yeah, my debut novel will be coming out in September, another plug, is a little bit slow at the beginning, but there's kind of a point because one of the main characters, so I can kind of see it, but for a book like this, I think if it was cut down a little bit, it would have been better. So yeah, like, I understand the slow pacing because I know my book's got a bit of slow pacing at the beginning, which isn't the best for a young adult, but one of the main characters, I'm talking about my book anyway, I need to stop talking about my book, but yeah, that's what dragged it down for me. But overall, a really good read. I'm glad I read it, and it's definitely given me some inspiration for dreams and stuff in my dissertation. That is it for my May and June wrap up. Thank you for watching. Comment down below any of the books you've read, or if you want me to check out anything that you think I'd like, and I will see you next week. Bye.